Dear friends, the years between 65 and 75 are more than just a phase, they're the silver decade. A time that shapes whether your later years shine with vitality or fade into struggle. Elderly folks who thrive past 80 often say it's the choices made in these 10 years that have paved the way. Those who love life and tend to themselves build a healthy, fulfilling old age, yet many step into this time thinking it's all leisure, not realizing small decisions can quietly stretch or shrink their days. Nothing beats knowing how to care for yourself, for even the dearest family can't always be there. As the saying goes, health is the root, independence the branches. When we stand tall on our own, we live free and strong. So, what choices lead to a vibrant old age? Let's uncover 7 hidden decisions that can transform your later years. I've spoken with 12 wise elders nearby and distilled their best insights for you. Before we start, I'd appreciate a like if you enjoy this. It helps me share more. If you haven't subscribed, please do and hit the bell so you won't miss out. Let's dive in. 1. Don't lose your purpose. Dear friends, retirement isn't the end of meaning. It's not a curtain falling on your life stage, but a door opening to a fresh chapter. Too many step into this time thinking the work is done, the race is run, and they can just sit back, letting the days blur into a quiet haze. But here's the truth I've learned. Without a reason to rise each morning, life dims fast, like a lamp flickering out from neglect. Purpose isn't just a luxury for the young, it's the heartbeat of every age, especially as we grow older. I met an 85-year-old woman, a knitter with hands that tremble but eyes that sparkle, who shared something beautiful with me. She told me her blankets, stitched with care and given to charity, kept her heart beating strong. Each loop of yarn, each finished piece, wasn't just a task, it was a lifeline, a reason to greet the dawn with a smile. She said, "When I'm making something for someone else, I feel alive." Meet Lila, 68. A lanky kid with a big heart showed up with a radio. Think about it, tending a garden, coaxing life from the soil with every bloom, or sitting with a grandchild, teaching them a song or a skill from your years. These aren't just pastimes. They're sparks that keep your spirit glowing. Even sharing your stories, those tales of triumphs and stumbles only you can tell, weaves a thread of meaning through your days. Purpose fuels health and joy in ways no medicine can match. It's not about grand gestures, it's about small, steady acts that whisper, "I'm still here, and I matter." The saying goes, a life with aim stands tall. And oh, how true that is. When you have something to reach for, something that pulls you forward, you don't just shuffle through old age. You stand longer, straighter, prouder. An elder once told me, lose your purpose, and you lose your fight. So, find yours. Dear friends, it might be a quiet hobby, a helping hand, or a legacy in words. Whatever it is, clutch it close, because a life with purpose doesn't just last, it thrives, and it carries you through the years with strength and grace. 2. Don't neglect your health. Dear friends, our bodies have a quiet way of talking to us. They whisper before they shout, sending little hints that something's off long before it turns into a storm. Ignore that tiny twinge in your knee or that nagging stiffness in your back, and one day it might roar at you, loud and unyielding, refusing to be brushed aside. I once sat down with a wise elder, her eyes full of stories, who shared a regret that still stings her. She'd dismissed an ache years ago, thinking it was just old bones settling, only to watch it bloom into arthritis that now slows her every step. She shook her head and said, "If I'd listened sooner, I'd still be chasing my grandkids around." That's the thing. Those small pains aren't just noise, they're signals. Gentle nudges begging us to pay attention. So check them out. Pop into the doctor's office when something feels off, even if it seems minor. Fuel yourself with good, honest food, fresh veggies, a warm bowl of soup, and let your body rest deep, sinking into sleep that heals. There's an old saying I love, a stitch in time saves 9. It's simple, isn't it? Catch the trouble early, mend it before it rips wide open, and you'll keep moving free. Free to stroll through the park, free to lift a grocery bag without wincing, free to live the way you want. That elder told me she wished she'd acted when the whispers started, because now her days are shorter, her steps cautious. Health isn't just about piling on more years to your tally, it's life itself. The very spark that lets you laugh, hug, and breathe easily. Neglect it, And you're not just risking a sore joint. You're handing over the keys to your freedom. So, listen close when your body murmurs. Sip that water. Take that nap. Ask that question at the clinic. It's not fussing. It's fighting for yourself. Because when you tend to those whispers, you're not just dodging a shout. You're building a life where you're still the one calling the shots. Strong and steady, ready for whatever comes next. Health is your roots. Friends, keep them deep. And you'll stand tall through every season. 3. Don't isolate yourself. Dear friends, loneliness cuts deeper than age. It's a quiet thief that slips into your days, sharper and colder than any wrinkle or gray hair. Picture this. You're home alone, and a little stumble turns into a fall. Or you forget that one pill that keeps your heart steady. It's so much riskier when there's no one near to lend a hand or jog your memory. Meet Lila. 68. A lanky kid with a big heart showed up with a radio. Life gets trickier without a friend by your side. Someone to notice if you're off or to pull you back up when you falter. But here's the good news. You don't have to face it solo. Chat with your neighbors over the fence about the weather or that noisy dog down the street. Pick up the phone and call an old pal. The one who remembers that silly story from way back when. Maybe even join a group. Cards, a book club, a walking bunch, something to get you out and talking. I met an elder once, a spry soul with a grin that could light up a room, who told me something I'll never forget. A shared laugh is medicine no doctor can give. She'd lived alone for years after her husband passed, but she made a point to swap jokes with the mailman or sip tea with a friend every week. She said those moments kept her ticker going strong, not just her heart but her spirit too. Connection does that. It lifts you up when the days feel heavy. Guards your days like a warm coat against the chill of being forgotten. Don't lock yourself away behind closed doors, thinking that's just how it goes as we age. That's not living. That's waiting. Reach out instead. Wave at the lady watering her flowers. Ask the grocer how his kids are. Share a story with someone who'll listen. It's not about filling every hour. It's about weaving a net of folks who care, who'll catch you if you slip. Loneliness might knock, but you don't have to let it in. Open your window. Step outside. Connection isn't just nice. It's a lifeline. Keep it close, and your days won't just stretch longer. They'll feel fuller, brighter, and a whole lot less alone. 4. Don't dwell on regrets. Dear friends, the past can chain you if you let it. It's like a rusty old anchor, dragging behind you, tugging at your every step if you don't cut it loose. Those old fights with a sibling over something you can barely recall. Or the lost chances, like that job you didn't take or the trip you never booked. Replaying them over and over weighs the heart down, heavy and sore, like a stone you can't set aside. I sat with an 82-year-old once, a gentle man with a voice soft as worn leather, who looked me in the eye and said, "Yesterday's gone, today's mine." That stuck with me. He'd spent years mulling over a falling out with his brother, letting it gnaw at him, until one day he decided enough was enough. The past wasn't coming back to fix itself, but he could still choose what to do with the day in front of him. So, how do you shake it off? Let go with something simple. Write a letter you'll never send, pouring out all those what ifs and if onlys onto the page. Then tuck it away or burn it if you're feeling bold. Or plant a flower, something small and alive, pressing its roots into the earth as a quiet promise to move forward. That elder told me he started tending roses after he made peace with his regrets. Each bloom reminded him to look ahead, not back. A calm mind heals faster. You see, it's like clearing the fog from a window so you can finally see the sun. Free it, and you're not just letting go of yesterday's shadows. You're giving yourself room to live now, to taste your tea, hear the birds, feel the breeze without that old weight pulling you under. Don't let the past be a jailer. Those fights and missed shots don't own you unless you hand them the key. Take today instead, claim it like that wise man did, and build something new with it. Regrets might knock, but they don't have to stay. Loosen their grip, and you'll find your hearts lighter, your days brighter, ready for the life that's still yours to shape. Right here, right now. 5. Don't fear asking for help. Dear friends, pride whispers we must go it alone. It's that stubborn little voice in our heads, murmuring that we've got to carry every load ourselves. That needing a hand is somehow a crack in our armor. But wisdom knows better. It's seen a few more sunsets and learned that standing tall doesn't mean standing solo. A neighbor hauling your groceries up the porch or a friend fixing that wobbly step isn't weakness. It's strength. Pure and simple. The kind that keeps you going instead of breaking you down. I met an elder once. A wiry old soul with a laugh that rumbled like a summer storm. Who grinned as he told me, "I fought help till I fell. Now I'm thankful." He'd been lugging heavy bags alone for years. Too proud to ask his son to pitch in. Until one day his knees buckled. And he hit the ground hard. Lying there, he realized pride hadn't saved him. It had tripped him up. After that, he started waving for help when the load got too big. And he said it felt like a weight lifted off his shoulders. Not just his arms. Asking keeps you safe, not small. It's not about shrinking yourself. It's about building a net to catch you when life gets shaky. That elder learned the hard way. But he turned it into a gift, chuckling as he leaned on his cane and his community alike. There's an old saying I hold dear. A village raises a life. Isn't that beautiful? It's not just about kids growing up. It's about all of us. At every age, leaning on our village when we need to. Maybe it's a cousin tightening a loose rail. Or a buddy dropping by with soup when you're under the weather. Don't let pride fool you into thinking you're less for it. You're more, because you're wise enough to know your limits and brave enough to reach out. So, when the bags are heavy or the step creaks, call on yours, your family, your neighbors, your crew. They're not weighing to judge, they're weighing to help. Lean on them, and you'll find you're not just safer. You're freer, stronger, and part of something bigger than pride could ever build alone. 6. Don't skip simple joys. Dear friends, joy isn't just for youth. It's not some fleeting gift reserved for the days when your knees didn't creak and your hair wasn't silver. It's your right. Yours to claim no matter how many candles are on the cake. Life's little sparks. A warm tea steaming in your hands. A song from the radio that pulls you back to a sweet memory. A sunset painting the sky with colors you can't help but stare at. These aren't extras. They're what keep your heart ticking with life. I met a 70-year-old baker once. A woman with flour-dusted aprons and a smile that could melt butter. Who told me something that stuck like dough to fingers. She said the scent of bread rising in her oven beat years of thrift. Years she'd spent pinching pennies, skipping treats, waiting for some perfect moment to enjoy what she'd earned. She'd thought joy could wait. But one day she fired up that oven, kneaded the dough, and breathed in that warm, yeasty smell, and it hit her. This was better than any savings account. There's an old saying I love, a life unjoyed is half lived. Isn't that the truth? If you're trudging through days without letting yourself savor the small stuff, you're only getting part of the ride. You've earned it, friends. Every laugh, every sip, every quiet moment watching the world turn. That baker didn't wait for permission. She baked her joy right into her routine. And it fed her soul more than her table. Don't save happiness for a later that may not come. Some far-off day when everything's just right. Because what if it never shows up? Pour that tea now. Hum that tune. Sit on the porch and watch the sun dip low. These aren't frills, they're fuel. Lighting you up when the years try to dim your glow. Joy's not about big wins or fancy trips. It's in the everyday, waiting for you to grab it. So, don't skip it. Don't shove it aside for a tomorrow that's not promised. You've worked hard, loved deep, lived long. Let those simple joys wrap around you like a warm blanket. Savor now, and you'll find life's not just longer. It's fuller, richer, and oh so sweet. 7. Don't hoard clutter. Dear friends, a home stuffed with old things drags down body and soul. It's like living in a museum of yesterday, where every corner's piled high with stuff you haven't touched in years, weighing you down more than you realize. Picture it. Stacks of boxes teetering by the stairs. Faded knickknacks gathering dust on every shelf. Tripping over those relics or spending your mornings wiping them clean steals energy you could use for something better. Like a walk in the sun or a chat with a friend. I met an elder once, a sprightly woman with a twinkle in her eye, who told me clearing her attic shed years off her spirit. She'd been hanging onto decades of junk. Old letters, broken lamps, clothes that hadn't fit since the 80s. Until one day she'd had enough. She hauled it out, bag by bag, and when the last box was gone, she stood in that empty space and felt lighter, like she'd peeled away time itself. I could breathe again, she said, and I believed her. It's not just about tidiness. It's about what you choose to hold on to. Keep what matters. The treasures that spark a smile or tell your story. And release the rest. The stuff that's just taking up space and tripping you up. That elder kept her mom's recipe book and a photo of her kids. But the chipped mugs and moth-eaten scarves? Out they went. A tidy space guards your safety. Fewer hazards to stumble over when your legs aren't as steady. And lifts your days, turning your home into a haven. Not a chore. She told me she'd shuffle past those cluttered piles feeling old and tired. But now, with clear floors and open air, she moves easier, thinks clearer. Don't let your home become a trap, sapping your strength with every dusty sweep. Start small, toss one box, give away one thing, and watch how it grows on you. Clutter's a sneaky thief, but you can take back what's yours. A clean slate doesn't just save your knees from a fall, it frees your spirit to live lighter, brighter, unburdened by yesterday's baggage. Keep the good, ditch the clutter, and you'll find your days and your heart have room to soar. If you're still here and these lessons resonate, comment number 1 below. I'm so glad you're with me, riding this journey together. Thank you for your time. It means the world that you've stuck around. Now, a quick story to wrap us up. Meet Lila, 68, a widow with a spirit tougher than nails. Though you wouldn't know it from how she hid her knee pain, she brushed it off, skipped outings with friends, and let clutter pile up. Boxes and dusty odds and ends swallowing her little home. One day, she tripped over a stray stack, and that tumble broke her hip. Months in bed followed, a stretch of gray days where she wondered if that was it. But then her grandson, a lanky kid with a big heart, showed up with a radio. She turned it on, let the music hum through her bones, and started swaying, just a little at first. That spark got her going. She tidied a lot, clearing out the mess bit by bit, asked neighbors for a hand with the heavy stuff, and even joined a walking group down the street. Now, at 75, Lila glows, not just alive, but living, her eyes bright, her laugh loud. Her secret? Choices made in time, small turns that steered her back to life. Dear friends, aging isn't about fighting time. It's about choosing wisely, picking the paths that keep your fire burning bright. What hit home for you today? Was it a purpose to chase? Something to get you out of bed with a grin? Or maybe a joy to claim? A little treat you've been putting off? Share it below. I'd love to hear what's stirring in your heart, because your voice matters here. If this spoke to you, if it nudged you to think or feel a bit deeper, hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Your support keeps this going, keeps us connected in this cozy corner of wisdom. Until next time, take care. Wrap your arms around yourself and those you love, because every choice today builds your tomorrow, brick by brick, into something beautiful. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for being here with me.